Hello, in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to use Final Cut Pro and the SC MultiScreen plugin to create a virtual choir grid. First we'll choose our finished audio clip and we're going to find the synchronization point we used while creating the audio file. As that was playing, I pressed the M key to create a marker at that point. I'll then drag the track into the timeline. Next, we'll go to each of our singers' clips and place a similar marker at the synchronization point in their clips. Again, I'll place a marker right there and continue the same process for every singer. Once you've placed markers on all of the singer's clips, our next step will be to create a single synchronized clip with all of the singers. To do this, I will select the clips for every singer. Now that we've placed the synchronization points in each individual clip, we will group them together so they can be added to the timeline already synchronized. To do this, I will select all of the clips. Make sure to deselect your audio here. Then I'm going to go to the clip menu and choose synchronize clips. Couple things to look at on this window. First, make sure that use audio for synchronization is unselected. We're not going to be able to use audio because the voice parts are different. And here we want to make sure to disable the audio components on AV clips because we do not need the audio of each individual clip. We're going to use first marker on the clip as our method for synchronization. And for video, it's really important that the format you choose here matches your project format. So this project is in 1080p resolution, and so it's important that that's what you choose. Then you press OK to create the new synchronized clip. We'll call it all clips. Next, we'll go ahead and bring our synchronized stack of clips into the timeline. And we will go to the clip menu and choose break apart clip items. This will then separate all of the clips we synchronized, and they are now lined up with the sync point. Once our clips have been added to the timeline, we now need to synchronize them with our audio. To do this, I'll select the top clip, hold Shift, and select the bottom clip, and now they're all selected. If I try to move these backwards to line up the sync point, I currently cannot. So I need to trim the clips a little to give myself room. I'll move the playhead forward and choose Trim, Trim Start. Now I can move these clips backwards until it snaps into place. You'll notice that right now the clips do not extend all the way back to the beginning of the audio. Since I'll be adding a crossfade in here later, that isn't much of an issue. But if you would like to extend the clips backwards, click on the leftmost edge to highlight that edit. Move your playhead backwards to the beginning and press Shift X to extend the edit backwards. You can then repeat the process with the remaining clips. Now that we have the beginning of the clips lined up properly, I'll go ahead and do the same thing at the end of the sequence. With all the clips selected, I'll move my playhead to the end of the audio. You'll notice some clips are shorter, so first I'm going to extend the duration of all of the selected clips by pressing Ctrl D, then plus, and let's add about 2 seconds to each clip. And now they all overlap the end of the audio. Then I'll choose Trim, Trim End. And now all the ends of the clips are lined up with the audio. Now that all of our clips are in place, we'll talk through using the MultiScreen plugin to set up our grid. This is easiest to do with only one clip visible, so we will select everything beneath our top clip and press V to disable it. Next, we'll go ahead and drag the MultiScreen plugin effect onto your clip. You should see it under Effects, under MultiScreen. With that clip selected, you can see the controls for the MultiScreen plugin. There are quite a lot of options here, so we will step through what you need to do to create a grid. First thing we'll do is take the layout spread slider and move it all the way to 100, basically saying 100% of the grid cells will be full. This helps us lay out the grid. With this video, I have 12 singers, so I'm going to go ahead and use 4 columns and 3 rows. Once I do this, you can see that's not quite right with the video scaling, so we'll need to adjust the scale of the clip itself. This expands or contracts the clip within the grid. So because there are 3 clips tall, I'm going to scale it down to about a third. And next I can use these cropping tools to change the width of the video within the grid. Before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and change the dimensions of the full grid to take up the entire width of the screen. Once the grid is filling the whole screen, we can use these cropping tools to adjust the size of the grid. And again, it's kind of a matter of playing around with both of these sliders until you've created a layout that looks like the grid you want. After we have the grid in place, we can go ahead and add a border using the border width slider. You can make it thinner or thicker as you wish. I'll leave it about there. And now we have our basic setup of a grid of 12 ready to use on each singer. Because this grid is an effect applied to single clips, we will need to copy the effect to the other clips to make the full grid. First thing we'll do is take the layout spread down to 0, and now this video only appears once. By using the clip location slider, we can pick which cell the video appears in. Before we do anything else, we'll go ahead and save a preset in case we want to use this particular grid again in the future in a different project. So we'll click Save Effects Preset. I'll call it MultiScreen 4x3. And make sure you choose MultiScreen as the category to make the effect preset easier for you to find in the future. And we'll go ahead and hit Save. And if you'd like to use that again, it's in your effects library. Now we need to copy the effect and paste it onto the other clips. So I'm going to re-enable all the clips by selecting them and pressing V again to enable them. Next, I will hit copy on this clip. I'll select all the other clips and choose paste attributes. And here, the only thing I want to paste is the multi-screen effect. Now you'll see that everything has disappeared because it's all in the same grid, but it's all in the same position. So now it's simply a matter of choosing each clip and adjusting the clip location to place each singer where you want them to go. As we place each singer in the grid, there are a couple other controls with this plugin that are useful. So for this first video here, it'd be nice if we could crop the video to have a better ratio and have the singer's face match the size of the other singers. So these controls here, we can use the scale clip source, which will scale the size of the clip within its grid cell. And then we can use the horizontal and vertical offset sliders to move them as needed. So with these controls, it makes it really easy to make a uniform looking grid of all the singers. All right, next I will go ahead and use this plugin to place each singer in the grid. As you're using this plugin, one thing to be cautious about is vertical videos. If you have any videos that are submitted in a vertical format, they do not play nicely with this plugin. So in order to get around that, we're actually going to remove the effect from this vertical video. And we're going to make a new compound clip. Usually we use compound clips to group clips together. In this case, we're just going to create a single compound clip and apply the effect to that instead. So I will drop my preset onto the compound clip. And now it should respond the same way as the other clips. Once you have your grid all set up, you can go ahead and check how the lip sync is. So we'll hit play and see how this looks. Depending on the speed of your computer, it may not play back smoothly, and the more videos you add, the less likely it is to play smoothly. So you might want to render your project or a small portion of it to get a better preview. So I'll go ahead and do that now with Modify, Render All. All right, we've rendered the project. Let's take a look. Most of that looks pretty good. I do have one baritone who is just a little behind, and that's probably because of where I placed the original sync point. So once you identify the clip you would like to tweak, we can find it here, and then press T to use the trim tool. Then we can simply slide back and forth to adjust by a few frames. You'll notice right now that this is snapping to the marker. So I'm going to go ahead and turn snapping off, which will make things easier to adjust. So I'm going to try moving this a couple frames backwards. Still needs to come back a little more. That's better. If you ever need to check the lip sync, but there are too many videos for it to play back smoothly, you can always disable the other videos. So I could select everything except what I am tweaking, and then it should play back smoothly. And then I can go ahead and tweak as needed. Once that's finished, I like to go ahead and delete my old marker, which is in the wrong place, turn snapping back on, and place a new marker on the clip to keep it synchronized. Once you are happy with your lip sync, we are pretty much done with the simple grid virtual choir. Last step I'll do is to select all of the clips, right click, and make a new compound clip. We'll call it full choir. And this will make it easier to do things like add transitions. So if we want to do a cross dissolve at the beginning to fade in, we can simply apply it to the full compound clip. And that has added one to the end as well. With a compound clip, you can also apply effects or changes to the entire clip. So for example, if you had a larger grid, you could scale it up and do a zoom out effect over time, or you could change the horizontal or vertical position over time to create a scrolling effect with the entire grid. But we'll just leave this static for now and go ahead and export our final video. Another great thing about this multi-screen plugin is that it allows us to be pretty flexible in terms of what types of grids we want to use in our project. For example, let's say I wanted to highlight 4 of the singers in a smaller grid before moving to the full grid. That'd be pretty easy to accomplish. First, we'll find a good point to place the new grid. That seems like a good stopping point. First thing I'll do is split all of the clips at the point I selected by pressing Command B to slice all of the clips. Next, I'll go ahead and press V to disable all of the clips, and then I will choose 4 to re-enable. Next, I'll need to remove the current effect from these clips. So I'll select each one by holding down the Command key, and then I'll go to Edit, Remove Effects. Now I've created a second preset using the process we did earlier to create a 2x2 grid, and I'll simply drop this onto the top clip here, and that will allow me to place that singer in a grid of 4. So just like before, I will hit Control-C to copy. I'll select the remaining clips and choose Paste Effects. Now each of those clips has the same grid pasted. As before, we'll change the clip location to move each singer to a different part of the grid. And we can use the tools to adjust the cropping and scaling of each clip. And that's it. If you create a new compound clip out of the first 4, it can make it pretty easy to do things like a scrolling or scaling grid. So I'll select these 4, hit Option G, create a new compound clip. And now if I wanted, I could come to the beginning and scale this down just a bit, insert a keyframe with this button here, and come to the end and scale up slightly and have a keyframe placed, and then we'll have a simple motion. And by placing different grids throughout your project, you can add a lot of variety to your videos.